It's the final UFC event of 2014 with a former pair of champions looking to bounce back. Welcome into MMA Live Extra. I'm Kerry Chow. Coming off a hard-fought decision loss to Chris Weidman in July, Lyoto the Dragon Machida takes on CB Dollaway in the main event of UFC Fight Night 58. To preview, we bring in a pair of ESPN MMA writers from Las Vegas, Brett Okamoto and Reed Kuhn in Oakland, California. Brett, we're going to start with you. It's to the back of the line for Machida. What are you expecting to see in this fight?
Well, I don't know if it's quite the back of the line for Lyoto Machida. I don't know if you ever send Lyoto Machida to the complete back of the line. This guy is always sort of right there. And if he wins this fight, maybe one more fight after that, he's right back in there in title contention. And we know what to expect out of this guy's fighting style. He's a clever counter striker. He's going to look to keep it on the feet. He still has blazing speed at 185 pounds, despite the fact this guy is starting to creep up there in age. So we know that's what we're getting from Lyoto Machida. I think for CB Dollaway, you look at this guy on paper, you wonder, where's the threat going to come from? It's hard to identify it. He just doesn't have the tools that you would think is going to give Lyoto Machida a lot of problems. I will say this about Dollaway. I've spoken to him. His mindset seems to be right heading into this fight. He believes that he's earned the right to be here. And I think that's important. You know, going down to Brazil, fighting Lyoto Machida in that kind of environment, you have to believe in yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to start to tuck your chin and force things to happen. And when you start doing that, you're playing right into Machida's game plan.
Yeah, Reed, as the author of Fightnomics, you break down fights by certain key metrics. What are the most important ones for this middleweight matchup?
Well, across the board, the striking metrics for Machida are outstanding. I mean, he is extremely powerful, accurate. If he has ever had a criticism, it's probably his hesitation. But pound for pound, strike for strike, I did this calculation a while back. He is one of the most dangerous strikers in UFC history. When he decides to engage, he puts people away. So on the feet, there is no question that his offense is outstanding. His defense is also very good. He's very elusive. He's very hard to hit. And really the only path to victory here, I think, is that CB Dollaway somehow relies on his wrestling and gets us to the mat and stays out of trouble. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. There is one wild card. This venue is actually quite small in Brazil, and I am curious if they will be using the small cage. If that's the case, the one criticism that Machida had, that he sometimes doesn't engage very much, that might go away. He might be forced to engage in the smaller cage, and we'll see some fireworks, I think. And I don't see how Machida doesn't eventually find his target and put Dollaway away.
All right, Machida successful in Brazil, the prediction there. Also on the card, Renan Barao takes on Mitch Gagnon. Brett, it's not the biggest name opponent for Barao, but how important of a fight is this for him in his career?
Yeah, you hear that cliche that every fight is important in a fighter's career, but of course, you know, looking at 2014 and how it's gone for Renan Barao, you know, they say that the fall from the top is very long, and Renan Barao can attest to that. You know, this guy was on the top of the world earlier this year. He was Dana White's, the UFC president's proclaimed best fighter in the world. And he got his butt kicked against TJ Dillashaw. There's really no other way to say it, in May. And then, of course, at UFC 177, failed to make weight and was pulled completely from that event. So this is sort of a makeup fight for Renan Barao. You know, he wants to reassert himself that, hey, you know, yeah, those two things happened earlier in this year. I can't change that, but I'm still the best 135-pounder in the world. He wants fights against Dominic Cruz. He wants them against TJ Dillashaw. He's fighting in Brazil here. It's an opportunity for him to look good and close 2014 on a high note. So a very important fight for the former champion, no doubt about it.
Yeah, looking to turn around. Reed, Gagnon is a big underdog in this bout. Do the numbers support that?
Well, it's interesting. The difference in competition between these two is so big that it's actually hard to compare these guys apples to apples. On paper, Gagnon's numbers are actually pretty good. He's been hard to hit. He's been tough on his feet. Not necessarily an offensive threat, but his submissions have come very, very quickly, and he has been successful with those. That's interesting given that he is technically only a purple belt that I know of. Against a guy like Renan Barao, I don't see how Gagnon's submission game is going to be the difference here. I think he's going to be forced to stand with Renan Barao, who has amazing takedown defense. I mean, he's going to be in the UFC top records for that characteristic. So I don't see him getting put on his back here. And that means some back and forth stand-up striking, and we've seen what Barao can do. He's got spinning attacks. He's got traditional striking. I think eventually he just runs away with this. The step up in competition is just too big here for Gagnon.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Reed said it. I think Gagnon's best opportunity to win this fight is through a submission. If you're trying to submit a guy like Renan Barao, you are swimming against stream the entire time. I think this fight plays out on the feet, and eventually Barao is going to run away with it, a stand-up battle.
There it is, both guys going with Renan Barao. For highlights and Brett's breakdown of UFC Fight Night 58, be sure to check out the MMA page here on ESPN.com. For Brett Okamoto and Reed Kuhn, I'm Kerry Chow. Thanks for watching MMA Live Extra.